In 2019, a man was arrested. He had a private island, a private jet, and a list of associates that included some of the most powerful people on the planet. His name is not important for this video. We will call him Jeffrey. What is important, what this entire documentary is built around, are the documents. Because documents do not die. Documents do not have lawyers. Documents do not disappear into a prison cell. This documentary is about what those documents contain, who is named in them, what they describe, and most importantly, what they have not yet been allowed to reveal. We will start where the story starts. Not with scandal, not with speculation, but with geography. These are not accusations. These are documented associations, names that appear in court filings, in travel logs, in witness statements given under oath. Hillary Clinton, a former U.S. Secretary of State, 77 years old, one of the most influential political figures of the last 4 decades. Her name appears in connection with the WikiLeaks documents and appears again in the record of this case. Henry Kissinger, a diplomat, one of the longest-serving and most consequential political strategists in American history, lived past 100 years. His influence stretched across administrations and continents. His name exists in proximity to this story. Barack Obama, a former U.S. president, early 60s, officially retired from political office. His name appears in the documents in the travel logs in particular, more than once. Bill Clinton, a second former U.S. president, late 70s. Perhaps the most publicly scrutinized figure of his political generation when it comes to personal conduct. His name is among the most frequently cited in the available record. Last, and most importantly, is Prince Andrew, a British royal, brother to a king, stripped of official duties. He gave one of the most widely discussed television interviews in the history of the British monarchy. His connection to Jeffrey is documented. It is not disputed. These people matter to this story not because they are guilty, a court has not said that, but because understanding who surrounded Jeffrey, who traveled with him, who visited his properties, is the only way to understand the scale of what he built. And what he built was not small.
Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Before we get started, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss any new videos. Let's dive in.
Let us be precise about what the files actually are, because this files has become shorthand for something vague, something conspiratorial, something that exists on the margins of the internet in dark corners. That is not what we are talking about. What we are talking about are official legal documents produced through, filed within, and partially released by the United States federal court system. They are part of real cases. They were submitted by real lawyers. They were reviewed by real judges. And for years, many years, they were sealed by real legal orders. The largest single case these documents are connected to is a civil lawsuit brought by a woman named Virginia Giuffre. She alleged that she was trafficked, recruited, transported, and exploited by Jeffrey and his associates, beginning when she was a teenager. She named individuals. She provided testimony. She submitted evidence. Her case is the spine of the public record. The documents include sworn legal testimonies, witness statements, internal communications, travel itineraries, flight logs from Jeffrey's private aircraft, civil suits naming specific associates. None of this is rumor. None of this is anonymous. These materials were produced under legal obligation, reviewed by opposing counsel, and entered into the official record. They are, by definition, among the most verified categories of information that exist, and the volume of this material is significant. The most recent batch of released documents alone totals approximately 3.5 million pages. If you read 1 page per minute, 24 hours a day, it would take you more than 6 years to finish. And according to legal experts who have reviewed the case, that is still a fraction of the complete record. There are sections that remain classified. There are names that courts have not yet permitted to be published. There are documents described by those who have seen them as sensitive to global security. What does it mean for a document to be sensitive to global security? It means that someone or several someones with sufficient legal and political weight has argued, successfully, that releasing it would cause serious harm to institutions, to operations, to individuals. That argument has, so far, been accepted by the courts. The question is not whether those documents exist. They do. The question is why their existence and their continued suppression has generated so little sustained public pressure. And that question is part of what this documentary is here to ask. The first and most discussed element of the released documents is names. Hundreds of names appear throughout the record. And here, precision is everything. Not every person named in these documents is accused of wrongdoing. The documents include visitors who may have had no knowledge of illegal activity, acquaintances who appear in passing, witnesses who provided testimony on behalf of the prosecution, individuals mentioned by victims, sometimes with specific allegations, sometimes in passing reference. Being in the file does not mean being guilty, but in the world that Jeffrey constructed, a world of deliberate documentation, deliberate surveillance, deliberate record-keeping, having your name in the file carries weight that goes beyond legal guilt. It means the record knows you were there. It means what you did or did not do in that environment was observed. And for individuals whose entire public identity rests on reputation, politicians, royals, executives, public figures, the existence of that record is its own form of consequence. Not a court verdict, but a permanent vulnerability. This is where the case transforms from a moral story into a structural one. Because when you read the documents not as a collection of individual incidents, but as a pattern, a different picture emerges. The same flight routes, the same properties, the same intermediaries, the same silence in the aftermath. This was organized. There were people responsible for logistics, for coordination, for recruitment, for managing what happened after the silence, the legal cover, the continued operation. Jeffrey was at the center, but he was not the only node in the network. Little St. James Island. Jeffrey purchased it in the late 1990s. It sits in the United States Virgin Islands, a U.S. territory, but one that has historically occupied a complicated position in terms of federal law enforcement jurisdiction. That complication was not accidental. The choice of an island, as opposed to a private compound, a secured estate, or any number of other exclusive environments available to someone of Jeffrey's wealth, was a deliberate operational decision. An island provides things that no other property type can match. Total perimeter control, no uninvited arrivals, legal jurisdictional ambiguity, no media access, no oversight. This was not a lifestyle choice. This was architecture. What was on the island? According to testimony submitted to the court, aerial photography and investigative reporting, luxury residential buildings, isolated rooms within those buildings, accessible only through specific routes, restricted structures, buildings that witnesses have described as off-limits even to prominent guests, a reported tunnel system beneath the surface, referenced in multiple independent witness accounts, and surveillance infrastructure throughout every significant area of the property. Here is the critical point about that surveillance. It was not for security. It was not for memory. It was for control. If you visited the island, if you were recorded there, then regardless of what you did or did not do, you were vulnerable. Because the record of your presence existed. And in the hands of someone willing to use it, that record was worth more than money. Some areas of the island were completely off limits, even to guests who, in the outside world, held the kind of power that opens every door. Think about that. People who could walk into the White House, people who could arrange private meetings with heads of state, people who commanded private security details and flew in private aircraft, told, not there, not that building, not that room. What was being protected in those spaces? We do not have a confirmed answer. The documents that might answer that question remain sealed. Why did people go to the island? This question matters because understanding the psychology of who attended and why is the only way to understand how the system sustained itself for so long. The island was presented as the ultimate exclusive environment. Access to Jeffrey, his network, his financing, his connections was itself a signal of status. He occupied a unique position. A man whose wealth appeared unlimited, whose social access was extraordinary, and whose guest list included figures from every domain of power. To be invited was to be validated. So people went for different reasons. Some for the network, the genuine belief that the connections made in that environment would advance their careers, their influence, their access. Some for the sense of being inside the real circle, where real decisions were made. Some because someone they trusted invited them. And trust, particularly trust offered within a structure of exclusivity, is the oldest manipulation tool in existence. And some, a smaller number, went with full knowledge of what the environment offered. And they chose it. But the result, for everyone who entered, was the same. They were documented. Whatever occurred during their time on the island, whatever lines were crossed, or approached, or observed, the record exists. Jeffrey was not alone. This is the sentence that the official narrative most frequently understates. Because the story, as most people have encountered it, is organized around one man. One man, one island, one network, one arrest, one death. And with that death, the story closes. But networks do not work that way. What the documents describe is a supporting structure. Lawyers who understood the legal implications of the operation and continued to provide counsel. Logistical coordinators who managed travel arrangements, property access, and the movement of people. Recruiters who identified, approached, and cultivated individuals. Some of those recruiters were themselves victims who had been gradually repositioned into that role. And evaluators, individuals whose role, according to testimony, was to assess which guests posed a risk of disclosure and which could be further drawn in. Jeffrey was the face. The island was his. The name was his. But the infrastructure, the legal protection, the financial structure, the operational management involved more people than any single individual could manage. Who funded the operation beyond what Jeffrey's documented income could explain? His wealth has never been fully accounted for. His stated career financial advising does not align with the scale of what he owned and operated. Who provided the legal cover that kept formal investigations at bay for so long? Who, after his death, has continued to ensure that certain documents remain sealed? These are not rhetorical questions. They are questions that the released documents raise and that the sealed documents may answer. Anyone who claims to have definitive answers to those questions right now is speculating. But anyone who claims the questions do not exist is not reading the record. In July 2019, Jeffrey was arrested upon returning to the United States from Europe. The charges brought against him: sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking. He was denied bail. A trial was scheduled. On the 10th of August, 2019, 36 days after his arrest, Jeffrey was found dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. The official ruling was suicide by hanging. The circumstances were immediately contested. Security cameras on his unit were not functioning that night. His cellmate had been transferred earlier than standard procedure would suggest. The guards assigned to conduct regular checks on his cell did not perform those checks and subsequently pleaded guilty to falsifying prison records. Whether his death was what it was ruled to be or something else is a matter for investigators, not documentarians. What is not contested is the consequence. The trial did not happen. The testimony that would have been heard from victims, from witnesses, from individuals with direct knowledge of who participated and how was never delivered in open court. And the full truth of who knew what, who did what, and who enabled the system to operate for so long went, in large part, unreported. His closest associate, the woman who managed the human infrastructure of the operation, was tried separately. She was convicted in December 2021 on 5 of 6 charges and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Jeffrey is gone. The island no longer belongs to him. It was seized. It was cleared. It sits, now, largely empty. But the question this documentary has been building toward is not about the island. It is about the system. A system built around documentation, as control does not end when its operator dies. The recordings, if they still exist, are somewhere. The names, the ones not yet released, are known to the people who compiled them. The sealed documents remain sealed, protected by legal orders that continue to be renewed. And for the individuals whose names appear in those sealed documents, whether they participated, observed, or were simply present, the existence of that record is its own kind of weight. Not a verdict, not a public accusation, but the knowledge that the record exists, that someone has it, and that someone has not yet decided what to do with it. The released documents are not justice. They are evidence that justice remains incomplete. They are a signal to specific people that the record of their presence in this system has not disappeared with the man who built it. There are documents still sealed. There are names still protected. There are victims who have given testimony, named names, provided evidence, and who have never seen those names face any consequence. The island is empty. The system is not.